Following a 1991 plane tragedy that claimed the lives of 8 members of her band and crew, Reba McEntire recently talked about how she turned to fellow country music icon Dolly Parton for support. In an interview with Garden and Gun, McEntire remarked of the collision, "It was really hard for me to get back on stage. But I'll be there for you, buddy," Vince Gill stated over the phone. "Here, take my band," Dolly Parton remarked. "It was such a gift to see how many people stepped forward to help and to reassure, because so many of us had broken hearts," McEntire went on. In addition to pilots Donald Holmes and Chris Hollinger, 7 members of McEntire's band, Joey Ciganero, Paula Evans, Chris Austin, Kirk Capello, Terry Jackson, Anthony Saputo, and Michael Thomas, as well as tour manager Jim Hammond, perished in the collision. A few minutes after takeoff, at around 1:45 a.m., the aircraft was at 3,300 feet when its left wing clipped a 3,500-foot Otay mountain rock. According to the biography, the collision sent the plane cartwheeling into the rocky peak with a massive explosion. In a 2022 interview with People, the country music artist discussed the accident and expressed uncertainty about her ability to continue playing. McEntire stated, "I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue. But it made me realize how valuable life is, and I knew that they went to a better place by God's grace and my faith." Although she acknowledged that she never blamed God for her friends' and coworkers' deaths, she did admit that she has questions when I get up there. "I learned from that you have to be really thankful for what you have and take things one day at a time," McEntire added. "Express your love and gratitude to the people in your life." In memory of her departed companions, she later released the album For My Broken Heart. It would go on to become her career's best-selling record. The album For My Broken Heart was inspired by the loss of my band and tour manager. McEntire told VMP, "Every song, every lyric." The Happy's Place actress commemorated the anniversary of the deaths of her band and crew members on social media in March 2024, saying, 33 years today since heaven gained some great angels. My friends, may you rest in peace." In 1991, the music ceased on March 16. One of the biggest names in country music, Reba McEntire, saw life clearly split into before and after. Shortly after departure from Brownfield Municipal Airport outside San Diego, a chartered aircraft carrying 8 members of her band and crew, as well as the pilot and co-pilot, crashed. No one survived. The plane did not carry Reba. She would be plagued by that one fact for years. Reba found herself staring into a silence she had never experienced in the hours and days that followed, as shock gave way to grief. This silence was the absence of the voices that had once complemented hers night after night, the abrupt stillness where practice talk, laughter, and road-worn friendship formerly resided. These weren't only colleagues. They were related. Another voice subtly intervened when the weight of that loss threatened to overwhelm her, standing by her side in the dark rather than trying to mend the unfixable. Dolly Parton has that voice, a sisterhood built on respect and music long before tragedy brought them together. Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire had a strong respect for one another that is uncommon in the entertainment business and is based on genuineness rather than antagonism. By being really oneself, these women had made their mark in a male-dominated field. Dolly, with her razor-sharp songwriting intelligence and rhinestones. Reba, with her emotional honesty, strong vocals, and Oklahoma grit. They were complements rather than exact replicas. Reba's ability to enter heartbreak so completely that it felt lived rather than performed, and to interpret a song like a short story, was something Dolly loved. Reba, on the other hand, saw Dolly as an example of how a woman could be a cultural force, a businessman, a songwriter, and still be compassionate. Consequently, Dolly did not react as a remote coworker when tragedy rocked Reba's world. "Family," she replied. The call that turned everything around Reba withdrew into shock following the collision. She later talked about feeling numb, unable to grieve, cry, or comprehend how she could be alive after losing the people she loved. The phone suddenly rang. Dolly was the one. Platitudes were absent. No phony optimism. There are no attempts to explain how such a thing may occur. "Everything happens for a reason" is not what Dolly said. "They're in a better place" is not what she said. "I'm here," she said simply. "And I'm not leaving." Finding the appropriate words isn't always enough to provide support. Sometimes it's about staying put. A calm form of power. Dolly Parton has always recognized a basic aspect of grief. It doesn't have to be resolved, it must be seen. Dolly made herself available to Reba in ways that never reached the news in the weeks after the collision. Without insisting on a conversation, she checked in. She didn't try to divert her suffering while she listened. She allowed Reba to experience every emotion without passing judgment, including confusion, grief, remorse, and rage. Later, Reba revealed that Dolly's ability to normalize grieving was among the most consoling parts of her support. Dolly informed her that she would experience this in waves. Additionally, "You let the waves to hit you. The water is not something you battle." Those statements held weight since they came from a woman who had experienced severe personal loss herself, including the death of loved ones and years of adversity prior to celebrity. Dolly wasn't talking in a theoretical manner. She spoke from her experience. The lifeline of music has always been more than a career for both women. It's the way they interpret the world. However, Reba was unable to sing following the collision. She thought about the people who used to stand behind her onstage every time she heard a song. Each harmony was lacking. Absence reverberated across every rehearsal space. Dolly was the one who gently reminded her that music could still be a haven, not right away, not violently, but eventually. She advised Reba not to permanently close the door, but also not to rush back into performance. Dolly informed her, "Your voice is still a gift, and eventually it will aid in your healing as well as the healing of others." Reba ultimately made her way back to the studio, but she did so with both the quiet strength of knowing she wasn't alone and the weight of grief. Restoring what was lost. Rebuilding was one of the most practical and significant ways Dolly helped Reba. Reba was presented with an insurmountable challenge after losing almost her whole band. What do you do when the foundation is gone? Dolly provided advice derived from her many years of experience in the field. She assisted Reba in considering how to put together a new team as the next phase rather than as substitutes. Honoring the past did not entail becoming mired in it, she told her. Dolly remarked, "You don't dishonor them by continuing. You carry them with you as a sign of respect." For Reba, that viewpoint turned out to be important. She started to see the future as witness rather than treachery. Each performance turned into a silent commitment. Every standing ovation is a win shared with others who were unable to attend. Private pain, public grace. Reba handled the tragedy with incredible poise in public. She honored the lives lost, thanked supporters for their prayers, and spoke with humility. In private, however, the agony was unrelenting. Her guilt as a survivor plagued her. She had taken a separate flight, but why? She had slept in, but why? Why did she get away with it? Dolly never made an effort to respond to those queries. She reframed them instead. She said to Reba, "You're here because you were meant to be. Because your story isn't complete, not because they aren't." The change from why them to what now was slight, and Reba discovered something like serenity amid that change. A relationship that grew stronger over time. Reba's life was not just tragically affected by the plane catastrophe. It signaled the start of two icons developing a closer sisterhood. Dolly and Reba continued to help each other through personal struggles, professional turning points, and periods of uncertainty in the years that followed. Their bond turned into a silent testament to what women in the field may be to one another: lifelines rather than rivals, comrades rather than enemies. In interviews, Reba's voice softened when discussing Dolly. Reba once remarked, "She's one of the greatest human beings I've ever known. Not merely as an artist, as a spirit." And there was pride, the type you get when you see someone you've seen get through the unthinkable. When Dolly talked about Reba leaving a legacy with compassion. Even now, over 30 years after the catastrophe, its effects are being felt. Reba will always remember the names of the people she lost. She continues to lovingly and discreetly pay tribute to them. The narrative of how another lady supported her and realized that love doesn't require attention to be strong is interwoven with that one, and it is inextricably linked to the sadness. Dolly Parton didn't compose a song about it. She didn't plan a public memorial. She avoided taking center stage in the narrative. She just appeared, once more and once more. By doing this, she showed something as timeless as any song she has ever composed. That compassion, when given freely and without ego, may save someone in ways that acclaim could never. Beyond legends, Dolly Parton and Reba McEntire are frequently referred to as country music icons, trailblazers, and queens. However, those titles vanished in the silent wake of tragedy. Two women, one in mourning and the other steadfast, stood together in the wake of unfathomable tragedy. And occasionally, that is the most significant legacy.